Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's Holy Sabbath day. As we know, keeping this last day of the Feast of Tabernacles is also a Sabbath. So the feast begins with a Sabbath and it also ends with the Sabbath. And we know that out in the world, very little of these things are ever really spoken about. But these are the things that are set as being important unto Yahweh. And when we deal with the things that Yahshua did, Yahshua took part in these very things. And in going over these things, we see that the whole tabernacles is set forth for celebrating all of the things that Yahweh has given unto us, reaping in our harvest, and then being able to feast and enjoy ourselves with all of the things that Yahweh has given unto us. So the spiritual implications of those things would be, of course, the 1,000 years of peace that is prophesied to be set on earth with Yahshua's presence. So let's begin by reading some events about Yahshua at the Feast of Tabernacles. Let's go into John chapter 7, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Yohanan chapter 7 and verse 1. After these things, Yahshua walked in Galilee, where he would not walk in Uri, because the Yehudis sought to kill him.
Now, imagine that. We have so many people talking about how much they love the Mashiach and all of these things, but it had gotten to a point where he had to watch where he went because his biggest enemies were his own people. We're constantly talking about all the Gentiles this, the Gentiles that. Our biggest problem was us. Go ahead.
Now the Yehudis' feast of tabernacles was at hand. His brethren therefore said unto him, Depart hence and go into Judea, that your disciples also may see the works that you doeth. For there is no man that does anything in secret, and he himself seeks to be known openly. If you do these things, show yourself to the world. For neither did his brethren believe in him. Then Yahshua said unto them, My time is not yet come, but your time is always ready. The world cannot hate you, but me it hates, because I testify of it that the works thereof are evil.
The world cannot hate you, but me it hates, because I testify of it that the works thereof are evil. And the words that he used are the words of Yahweh. So when he testifies that something is evil, it is not his opinion. It is not what he think, feel, and believe. It coincides with Yahweh's law. Go ahead.
Go you up unto this feast. I go not up yet unto this feast, for my time is not yet full come. When he had said these words unto them, he abode still in Galilee. But when his brethren were gone up, then he went also up unto the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret. Then the Yehudis sought him at the feast, and said, Where is he? And there was much murmuring among the people concerning him. For some said, He's a good man. Others said, No, but he deceives the people. Howbeit no man spake openly of him for fear of the Yehudis. Now about the midst of the feast, Yahshua went up into the temple and taught. And the Yehudis marveled, saying, How knoweth this man letters, having never learned? Yahshua answered them and said, My doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me.
Right. They are automatically offended because they can't pinpoint as to how he knows these things. How is he able to know this? So they're automatically offended. Go ahead.
If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of Elohim or whether I speak of myself.
Right. You have to ask yourself those same questions. When you hear something, do you know whether or not it is of Elohim or whether it is of the individual who's speaking? Because it doesn't matter how much zeal they use when they say it. Does it have scriptural basis? And sometimes stuff sounds real good. until you examine it. Sometimes you'll hear something and it sounds real good. Then examine it. Go ahead.
He that speaks of himself seeks his own glory, but he that seeks his glory that sent him, that the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. Did not Moshe give you the law, and yet none of you keeps the law? Why go you yet about to kill me? The people answered and said, You have a devil. Who goes about to kill you?
Right. They're talking to the son of Elohim and accuses him of having a devil. And they didn't see nothing wrong with that. Go ahead.
Yahshua answered and said unto them, I have done one work, and you all marvel. Moshe therefore gave unto you circumcision, not because it is of Moshe, but of the fathers. And you on the Sabbath day circumcise a man. If a man on the Sabbath day receives circumcision, that the law of Moshe should not be broken, are you angry at me, because I have made a man every whit whole on the Sabbath day? Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment.
Right. Righteous judgment is not always apparent right away. Go ahead.
Then said some of them of Jerusalem, Is not this he whom they seek to kill? But lo, he speaks boldly, and they say nothing unto him. Do the rulers know indeed that this is the very Mashiach? Howbeit we know this man whence he is, but when the Mashiach comes, no man knows whence he is. Then cried Yahshua in the temple as he taught, saying, You both know me, and you know whence I am, and I am not come of myself, but he that sent me is true, whom you know not. But I know him, for I am from him, and he has sent me. Then they sought to take him, but no man laid hands on him, because his hour was not yet come.
Right, because they felt that this statement was a little bit too bold. You know, he's saying, I am from him. We need to go ahead and do something to him. So now they're murmuring among themselves what they ought to do to him. Go ahead.
And many of the people believed on him and said, When the Mashiach comes, will he do more miracles than these which this man has done? The Pharisees heard that the people murmured such things concerning him, and the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to take him. Then said Yahshua unto them, Yet a little while, and I am with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. You shall seek me, and shall not find me, and where I am, thither you cannot come. Then said the Yehudis among themselves, Whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go on to the dispersed among the Gentiles, and teach the Gentiles?
Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? Keep in mind, all of this is happening at the Feast of Tabernacles. Go ahead.
What manner of saying is this that he said, You shall seek me, and shall not find me, and where I am, thither you cannot come? In the last day, that great day of the feast, Yahshua stood and cried, saying,
The last day, the great day of the feast. Go ahead.
If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believes on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. But this spake he of the Spirit, which they that believe on him should receive, for the Holy Spirit was not yet given, because that Yahshua was not yet glorified. Many of the people, therefore, when they heard this saying, said, Of a truth, this is the prophet. Others said, This is the Mashiach. But some said, Shall the Mashiach come out of Galilee? Has not the scripture said that the Mashiach comes of the seed of David, and out of the town of Bethlehem, where David was? So there was a division among the people because of him. And some of them would have taken him, but no man laid hands on him. Then came the officers to the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said unto them, Why have you not brought him? The officers answered, Never man spake like this man. Then answered them the Pharisees, Are you also deceived?
So the Pharisees, no matter what, because it threatened the position that they had, no matter what he did, no matter what was done good, no matter what was prophesied, it didn't matter. He could do absolutely no good in the eyes of the majority of the Pharisees. This is why it was a really big thing that Saul, whom they called the Apostle Paul, why it was a really big thing for him. Because being a Pharisee, he was one of the ones who persecuted anyone who followed this way. He persecuted them relentlessly, because this is what his group was set to do. They did not want to lose power, so they have to make sure that everything is explained or dealt with in the way that they want it to be dealt with, not according to how it's written. And even the brothers who wanted to deal, the Pharisees that wanted to deal with Yahshua, they snuck and came by night. Because they were going to get some problems from their group. This is what my elder used to say, the danger of having cliques and clicking up. Because people then want to agree with the group. So now they're in the group of the Pharisees, but you have some that don't believe what the Pharisees believe. But if they don't do that, if they don't go with the rest of the Pharisees, they're going to have issues in their group. Go ahead.
Verse 48. Have any of the rulers or of the Pharisees believed on him? But this people who knows not the law are cursed. Nicodemus says unto them, He that comes to Yahshua by night, being one of them.
Now, he came to Yahshua by night, all right? He is a Pharisee, but then look at how he has to orchestrate this situation. They said, do any of the Pharisees believe on him? You didn't hear him speak up right there, did you? He didn't just jump up, I believe him. No, he's still quiet. But he's going to get into this discussion another way. Go ahead.
Does our law judge any man before it hear him and know what he does?
Right. See, he didn't jump right up and say, I believe him. But I tell you what, how about we deal with this according to the book? Does our law judge a man before it hears him? He didn't jump right up and say, I believe in him. He knew what they were going to do. But I tell you what, how about we deal with this according to the law? Since we all supposed to be lawyers. How about not let's deal according to as it is written? That already was going to get him enough trouble. So he didn't need to go out and take the first step and say, I believe him. I believe in him. Go ahead.
They answered and said unto him, Are you also of Galilee? Search and look, for out of Galilee arises no prophet. And every man went on to his own house.
And you see, just him referring back to how the word says, does our law judge any man before it hears him and know what he does? They answered and said unto him, Are you also of Galilee? Now they're accusing him. You must be from where he from. And all he said was, how about we deal with it according to the book? Does our law judge any man before it hears him? It is amazing how things will go down. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 4. And why you would have to remind a group of lawyers about the law. Wait a minute, this is what y'all do. It says the children of Israel are instructed out of the law. Why you got to remind a bunch of lawyers to follow the law? It says the Gentiles here through faith. Israel is instructed out of the law. So how is it every time we have to be reminded back on how we're supposed to deal with something? Ephesians chapter 4, let's start that at verse 1.
I therefore, the prisoner of the Adonai, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
Mm-hmm.
There is one body and one Spirit, even as you are called in one hope of your calling. One Adonai, one faith, one baptism.
One baptism, the baptism in the name of Yahshua. And if we fall, we don't get rebaptized. We just refine our walk. We get up, we dust ourselves off, we get back on the path. We don't keep getting in the water. He's not going to keep dying every time we do something wrong. Go ahead.
One Elohim and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of the Mashiach. Wherefore he says, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descend first into the lower parts of the earth?
Right. At the baptism, when, of course, it is noted that he was 30 years of age, as it is written, a man must be 30 years old to start work in the priesthood. He then received his baptism. This is when you heard, "This is my son in whom I'm well pleased." So that spirit that descended and rested upon that body is what they are talking about. And this is what was throwing the children of Israel, because he's saying, "I came out of heaven." And they're like, "No, you didn't. You came from over there. We know where you live." They are dealing with the physical part of the man and not the spirit. Go ahead.
He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. And he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of the Mashiach, till we all come into the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of the Mashiach, that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of man and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. But speaking the truth in love, may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even the Mashiach, from whom the whole body fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplies, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, maketh increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. This I say therefore, and testify in the Adonai, that you henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind, having their understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of Elohim through the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart.
And every last one of us have been there. We were raised up in this Gentile system. So every last one of us have been there. Go ahead.
Who being past feeling have given themselves over unto lasciviousness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. But you have not so learnt the Mashiach. If so be that you have heard him and have been taught by him, as the truth is in Yahshua, that you put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind.
And to be renewed in the spirit of your mind, then we allow ourselves to be redirected, retaught, that we may be able to look at things in a different way than the way we were accustomed to looking at things before. Go ahead.
And that you put on the new man, which after Elohim is created in righteousness and true holiness.
Right. It may take all the rest of your life to put on the new man. Don't get this twisted and think, you get baptized, you make a few changes, and that new dude is you knew. That old dude is in there floating in the water. No, you're going to fight that old dude all the rest of your days. Every time you turn around, just when you think you got rid of that old dude, here he go with you, in the car with you, giving you some direction. Turn down this street. You remember we did? I ain't going down there. I know what's down that street. No, I know what you're trying to do. Get back in the back seat, old dude. No. You going to fight this man here the rest of your days. Don't let this line fool you that it's just one and done. No, this is a forever fight. Go ahead.
Verse 25. Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Be you angry and sin not.
Right. Everybody gonna get angry. The question is, what do you do after that? It is impossible for us to never get angry. I mean, if you don't ever get angry, something wrong with you. But what you do with that anger and what you allow that anger to drive you to do is something altogether different. Be you angry and sin not. So at the point that anger comes in, now we have to remember all of the directions that we have within the word as to how we deal with that. Otherwise, now the anger has caused us to do some things that we will then think about later. And you can start counting all of those things that were done wrong. But you don't think about that when you're angry. You don't think about that when you're mad. When you're angry, it's telling you, say this, do that. Say this right here. Do this over here. And you get to the point where anger is the driving force, and people don't even know what they're doing while they're angry until they calm down. See, when they sit you in that 6x6 cell, everybody calm down after that. Then they start replaying back in their mind all the things that were done. And it ain't never pretty. Go ahead.
Let not the sun go down upon your anger, neither give place to the devil.
Right. Because this is when the adversary is more present than any other time. Once he see, oh, anger is driving this vehicle, oh, now he in your ear. Now he the one that's talking now. And the thing about those spirits is they know things that we ought not know. Like you might see somebody and say, well, I've only known that person for a month. But yet, somehow something come out of their mouth that agitate you from something that happened 3 years ago. Well, how they know that? They didn't. The demon did, though. That one they entertaining, he know that. Because he knows you very well. That person don't know you. That person ain't been around but a month. That demon been watching you for the last couple of years. Go ahead.
Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needs. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers.
Consider that. There's so many things that could be called corrupt communication. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth. And it's not possible that we will not ever do this. You can have corrupt communication by accident. But then at some point, we got to back up from it. Go ahead.
And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed unto the day of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you.
Even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven us. So then we have to consider the forgiveness that we ask for and see if we are able to offer that same forgiveness elsewhere. But we also remember that that has an equation unto it. That has another passage connected. It's just not somebody does something, you forgive them. The word says, if your brother sin against you, rebuke him. If you felt like it was a sin situation that was brought upon you, you have to say something. All right? Then at that point, that thing can be dealt with. And the longer we wait to deal with it, the harder it's going to be to get down to the bottom of that particular thing. Let's go to Yohanan chapter 12. John chapter 12.
Yohanan chapter 12 and verse 9. Much people of the Yehudis therefore knew that he was there, and they came not for Yahshua's sake only, but that they might see Lazarus also, whom he had raised from the dead.
So now Lazarus is a walking testimony. He is a walking testimony to the work of Yahshua, that this great thing was done. Go ahead.
But the chief priests consulted that they might put Lazarus also to death.
Right. So because he is a testimony, they want to kill the man who was brought back to life. Just so they will not speak of any good deeds that Yahshua has done. Now, these are chief priests that are talking about murdering somebody. Once again, lawyers are now discussing how they can get together and break the law. But of course, that's not how that's said, right? At this point, they're dealing with their feelings and losing whatever position they have. So they don't call it that we're getting together to see how we can break the law. They're just worried about their position. So now, even being lawyers, they have set the law aside while they figure out how they're going to get rid of him. Go ahead.
Because that by reason of him, many of the Yehudis went away and believed on Yahshua.
Right. Many of them went away and believed on Yahshua. So now they're just worrying about their place. They're not worried about what's right or wrong. Go ahead.
On the next day, much people that were come to the feast, when they heard that Yahshua was coming to Jerusalem, took branches of palm trees and went forth to meet him, and cried, Hosanna.
If you notice, a lot of these things go down during the feast. We want the most beautiful, peaceful feast we can ever have. Read in this book and find out how many things end up going down around the feast. For one thing, Yahweh like an audience. There ain't enough people in your living room. No, let me stir this thing up. That way I can take care of everybody at the same time. Go ahead.
Hosanna, blessed is the King of Israel that comes in the name of the Adonai. And Yahshua, when he had found a young ass, sat thereon, as it is written, Fear not, daughter of Zion, behold, your king comes, sitting on an ass's colt. These things understood not his disciples at the first. But when Yahshua was glorified, then remembered they that these things were written of him, and that they had done these things unto him. The people therefore that was with him, when he called Lazarus out of his grave, and raised him from the dead, bear record.
So now these people are testifying. Go ahead.
For this cause the people also met him, for that they heard that he had done this miracle. The Pharisees therefore said among themselves, Perceive you how you prevailed nothing? Behold, the world is gone after him. And there were certain Greeks among them that came up to worship at the feast. The same came therefore to Philip, which was at Bethsaida of Galilee, and desired him, saying, Sir, we would see Yahshua. Philip comes and tells Andrew, and again Andrew and Philip tell Yahshua. And Yahshua answered them, saying, The hour is come, that the Son of Man should be glorified. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abides alone. But if it die, it brings forth much fruit. He that loves his life shall lose it, and he that hates his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal.
Right. He that loves his life shall lose it. This is trying to maintain the way that we do things. It is not about hating your life and getting rid of it. It is about allowing Yahweh to reform those things in our life. And if we allow him to do it, we then end up getting more things than we would have gotten on our own. Go ahead.
If any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Father honor.
Jump down to verse 36.
While you have light, believe in the light, that you may be the children of light. These things spake Yahshua, and departed, and did hide himself from them. But though he had done so many miracles before them, yet they believed not on him.
Right. One thing that you can always count on, once these people are threatened about losing their position, no matter what they see, it's a done deal. Raise the dead, divide the water, walk on the water. It don't matter what it is. They cannot believe on him. Just merely knowing him beforehand was enough for them not to believe on him. Go ahead.
That the saying of Esaias the prophet might be fulfilled, which he spake, Adonai, who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of the Adonai been revealed? Therefore they could not believe, because that Esaias said again, He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, that they should not see with their eyes, nor understand with their heart.
He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart. He has blinded. So you get down to a point where you may be trying to explain something, and it is not able to be revealed, it's not able to be revealed because he blinded their eyes. He won't let them see. You can talk all night. He has decided that they're not going to see. Go ahead.
And be converted, and I should heal them. These things said Esaias when he saw his glory, and spake of him. Nevertheless, among the chief rulers also many believed on him. But because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him.
Because of the Pharisees, they were worried about what their group was going to say. They were afraid to say that they believed on him. They were ashamed of Yahshua. And it is amazing to hear how so many people will openly say how much they love Yahshua. Until it gets down to a certain point, then they're ashamed of it. Go ahead.
Lest they should be put out of the synagogue. For they love the praise of men more than the praise of Elohim. Yahshua cried and said, He that believes on me, believes not on me, but on him that sent me.
Right, because the word that he speaks is not his own. It's not you believing in me. You are then believing on him that sent me. Because the words that I speak are not my own. They are his. Go ahead.
And he that sees me sees him that sent me. I am come a light into the world, that whosoever believes on me should not abide in darkness. And if any man hear my words and believe not, I judge him not. For I came not to judge the world, but to save the world.
Right. He comes in a different capacity here. He's not even coming to judge at that point, because he came as the lamb. Now the next opportunity is going to be coming as a lion. That's going to be something altogether different. Go ahead.
He that rejects me and receive not my words has one that judges him. The word that I have spoken, the same shall judge him in the last day.
The word that I have spoken, the same shall judge him in the last day. The word is a spirit. You judge the spirit by the spirit. So if the word is a spirit and you judge the spirit by the spirit, you judge the spirit of the things that you hear based on the spirit of the word that's in here. But that may require you to do a little bit more studying than you want to do when situations arise. Because sometimes we'll hear something and it will go right off what we remember. No. You might have to pause for a second. Say, no, hold on. I'll get back with you in a couple of days. Let me read a few things. Then I get back with you. Go ahead.
For I have not spoken of myself, but the Father which sent me. He gave me a commandment, what I should say and what I should speak.
You know, if you do things and go to a court of law, you know they do the same thing. There's a lot of times you'll put something in and say, I am filing for this. They hand it to the judge and the judge say, you know what? I'll get back with you. Judge, don't answer it right then. They go back, look over all the laws that may pertain, and all those laws ain't in the same place. So they got to read here, read there, read here, read there. Then they send you something in the mail. After examining this, we have decided to grant you your license. Or we have decided not to grant you your license because we meditated upon it and went through, and then they'll tell you exactly how to do it. Okay, because I filed some papers wrong one time. They said, well, you waited too long. Everything that you did was right. But this cannot exceed over a year. Bag this up, change this, and then resubmit it, and we'll grant you your petition. Go ahead.
And I know that his commandment is life everlasting. Whatsoever I speak, therefore, even as the Father said unto me, so I speak.
All right. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 18.
Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 1. Through desire a man, having separated himself, seeks and intermeddleth with all wisdom. A fool has no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. When the wicked comes, then comes also contempt, and with ignominy reproach. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. It is not good to accept the person of the wicked, to overthrow the righteous in judgment. A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calls for strokes. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. He also that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. The name of Yahweh is a strong tower. The righteous runs into it and is saved. The rich man's wealth is his strong city, and is an high wall in his own conceit. Before destruction the heart of a man is haughty, and before honor is humility. He that answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame unto him.
Right. And all of this goes back to Yahweh's law. It says whenever there's anything, we must have diligent inquiry. He that answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame unto him. Go ahead.
The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded spirit who can bear? The heart of the prudent gets knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. A man's gifts makes room for him, and brings him before great men. He that is first in his own cause seems just, but his neighbor's comes and searches him.
He that is first in his own cause seems just, because at that point there's only one version of the story being told. But later his neighbor comes and searches him out. Go ahead.
The lot causes contentions to cease, and parts between the mighty. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Death and life, both of them, are in the power of the tongue. It all depends on what we do with it. Both are there. Go ahead.
And they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Whoso finds a wife finds a good thing, and obtains favor of Yahweh. The poor uses entreaties, but the rich answers roughly. A man that has friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother.
Right. There's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. When you go through some things, the very things that sometimes people think are going to divide a friendship, and they end up making a friendship even closer. That's how things cause friends to be closer than brothers. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 21.
Verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh, as the rivers of waters. He turneth it whithersoever he will.
And we have to remember that. That's just not Yahweh's king. That's just not the king of Israel. All right? The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh, as the rivers of water. He turns it whithersoever he will. That means the crazy kings of the earth too. You look up and all of a sudden America does some crazy thing. And people say, well, what is that about? Yahweh turned his heart whichever way he wants to turn it for the objective that he has decided. Go ahead.
Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but Yahweh ponders the hearts. To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to Yahweh than sacrifice. And high look and a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of everyone that is hasty, only to want. The getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a vanity tossed to and fro of them that seek death.
And we were taught that in the daughter of Babylon. We were taught that. They teach that. You go to college and learn that in The Daughter of Babylon. Go ahead.
The robbery of the wicked shall destroy them, because they refuse to do judgment. The way of a man is froward and strange, but as for the pure, his work is right. It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house.
And we have to consider that naturally and spiritually. Spiritually, we are all the wife of Yahweh. So does Yahweh have to deal with a brawling woman? Go ahead.
The soul of the wicked desires evil. His neighbor finds no favor in his eyes. When the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise. And when the wise is instructed, he receives knowledge. The righteous man wisely considered the house of the wicked, but Elohim overthrow the wicked for their wickedness. Whoso stops his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard.
Right. Whatever you plant, that's what's going to grow. You shall reap what you have sown. Whoso stops his ears at the cry of the poor, he shall eventually be poor. But he shall cry, but shall not be heard. And it may just be a situation that may happen. It may not be for the rest of that person's life, but Yahweh is going to present a situation so you can see what that felt like. Go ahead.
Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 14. A gift in secret pacifies anger, and a reward in the bosom strong wrath. It is joy to the just to do judgment, but destruction shall be to the workers of lawlessness. The man that wanders out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. He that loves pleasure shall be a poor man, and he that loves wine and oil shall not be rich.
He that loves wine and oil shall not be rich. The more you drink wine, the more excuse you get for not doing what it is you were supposed to be doing. He didn't say there was something wrong with us drinking wine. But what happened is eventually it's an excuse why you didn't get to work on time. Now it's an excuse why you didn't do this other thing. Well, wait a minute, when you supposed to do that over there? Yeah, but I started drinking that wine and that ain't gonna work. Go ahead.
The wicked shall be a ransom for the righteous, and the transgressor for the upright. It is better to do well in the wilderness.
Better to dwell in the wilderness.
It is better to dwell in the wilderness, than with a contentious and an angry woman. There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spends it up. He that followeth after righteousness and mercy finds life, righteousness, and honor. A wise man scales the city of the mighty, and casts down the strength of the confidence thereof. Whoso keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps his soul from troubles.
Right. But there's times where that gets more and more difficult. All we got to do is get cut off on the road. And sometimes a whole bunch of words fly out of there. We forget about Yahweh. We forget about everything at that short little small. And they ain't even got to really touch our car. It just looked like they were going to touch our car. And some choice words come out. But sometimes Yahweh allow that to happen so you can see what's inside of you. So you can see how fast you go off. There was a whole part of my life that I would not carry a firearm because of some things that I did when I was younger with a firearm. The firearm wasn't the problem. The problem was my anger. And what happened when I had a firearm? When I got angry. So I wouldn't touch it for years. I mean, decades. And then once that found its place, hey, I can walk around with 2, 3 firearms on me and nobody know it. Because when I get angry, now I'm still trying to have a conversation. But see, when I was younger, you said, what? What you, boy, swear, boo your face up. We ain't barely even got into the argument. I'm already ready to send half his face across the side of the room. I said, no, I need to leave this at home. Because first time I get angry, I'm reaching for my peace. When you take care of that, you forget you even got your peace on you. Something happened and you still talking peace. You're not reaching for your peace.
Verse 24. Proud and haughty scorner is his name, who deals in proud wrath. The desire of the slothful kills him, for his hands refuse to do labor. He covets greedily all the day long, but the righteous gives and spareth not. The sacrifice of the wicked is abomination, how much more when he brings it with a wicked mind. A false witness shall perish, but the man that hears speaketh constantly. A wicked man hardens his face, but as for the upright, he directs his way. There is no wisdom nor understanding nor counsel against Yahweh. The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of Yah.
The horse is prepared against the day of battle. So you have to do what you have to do to prepare yourself for the battle. But the safety that you receive, it ain't from your preparation. The safety that you receive comes from Yahweh, our Elohim. Enjoy your last day of Feast of Tabernacles. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.